creatures. So recently I decided to start sharing tips right here on my YouTube channel with anybody who might be interested in dressing nicely and stylishly without spending all of their coins. So today I am featuring a blouse that I found at a local thrift store, and I'm going to talk to you guys about how much the blouse costs, the fees for getting it cleaned and mending it and things of that nature, and then what I plan on doing is featuring it in a outfit of the day video to show you guys how I style it, just to prove that you can look nice without spending a lot of money. So this blouse I found at one of my favorite thrift stores, and the thrift store that I found it at never has anything over $2. So though I can't remember the exact price for the blouse, I know that it was under $2 or maybe exactly $2, but I'm leaning more towards $1.50 or $1.75. And then after I got it from the thrift store, I went ahead and took it to the dry cleaners and I got it dry cleaned, and you can see here that it only cost $2.49 to have this dry cleaned. So we are still under $5 for a very nice blouse, and you can see that it has the little high-low effect, and I really love that. It also has two very thin belt loops here on the side. It did not come with the belt, but what I might do is crochet a very thin belt, or just sew a fabric belt, or just something very thin just to go there. If I don't, then I'll just wear it without a belt. And then you see here that it has two nice pockets, all intact. It has these two buttons down the collared front. Here are the two defects that it had when I purchased it from the thrift store, and when I took it to the dry cleaners, I told them, you know, just be careful with it, try not to make the defects any worse. And I got it back, and it was, you know, just as I had given it to them. But I wanted to make sure that I had it cleaned before I brought it home and started working on it. And then I want to show you guys here the sleeves, which I think are very nice. Everything is intact. Look at that. And I love sleeves like this. It's kind of like I call it kind of like a military style sleeve. I don't know if that's the correct terminology for it, but I love them. I love sleeves that button up like that, or that you can let loose. So you see that, and the other sleeve, same thing. Everything is also intact on that one. And there's the back of it. Okay, very nice blouse. But my guess would be that somebody just gave it away because of this here, or maybe they gave it away because they lost the belt. But I find things like this and I feel like they are truly a treasure, and I really enjoy fixing them. And then for the tag, it is a size medium. It was made in Vietnam, and the brand is Buyer, which is a brand that I'm not very familiar with. And there's the RN number, care and seam. Let's see if it still has the care tag. I'm always interested in that as well. Okay, so somebody cut out the care tag, but that's okay. It does have an extra button still in the seam, so that's nice. When I buy something from a thrift store and it doesn't have a care tag, what I normally do is just dry clean it just to be safe, because it doesn't show the material that it's made out of. So if you ever buy something and you're not sure how to care for it, dry clean it just to be safe. So what I'm going to do now is show you guys how I mend these two small defects. So stay tuned. So you'll go ahead and grab your blouse. You can lay it out on a flat surface like I have here, or you can sit down and simply do it on your lap, which is what I would normally do, but for the purposes of this video, I have it laid out so you guys can see everything clearly. You will also need very good lighting, as well as patience and a seam ripper. So here is the seam ripper that I'm going to be using today. You will simply start off by unbuttoning your blouse so that you have the part that you're working on isolated. So because the thread is white, you guys may not be able to see it very well, but the line is right there. And so you want to be sure that you start from about 1 inch to 1.5 inches before and after where you're doing your mending. Okay, so I'm probably going to start about right here and stop about right here with the seam ripping. So you can look really closely to find your seams. You see I have one here that's already on the seam ripper, and you would just pull that out. So here's the part that I've already ripped out, If it's too difficult for you to start on the front seam, always feel free to flip it over on the back. For this blouse in particular, I found it better to rip the seams from the back or the inside of the shirt. So you see we have another one coming out right there. So you would just continue that process all the way up until you get about 1 inch to 1.5 inches past your last defect in the shirt that you're fixing. Ripped everything away that I need to rip away. Now I wanted to show you guys one alternative method of ripping seams. Depending on the fabric you're using, you might want to do this. So remember, at first I said you can rip the seam straight out from the front. You can flip over to the inside of the shirt and rip out from the back. But the alternative method is to rip out a few seams from either the front or the back and then open your seam here. You see? Open that up. If you spread it apart and look in the inside, you'll see the seams running across this way. And so you could simply stick your seam ripper in there and rip them out like that. Okay, so it's all your preference, whatever you like to do. I mainly did this from just ripping out from the back because I found that the easiest. I don't know if I've already cut off the thread or not, but you should have a pretty long thread hanging from what you ripped off. I noticed that whoever sewed this shirt, they must have stopped and started right here because I had a few threads that actually fell out, so it wasn't a continuous thread. The majority of the time you'll have a continuous thread there. And so you'll pull out that thread from the back, and then you'll have a skinny thread running on the front, and you'll make sure that you pull that one out as well. Mine are already
Now
out.
that you have your seam ripped out and this is open, your next step is going to be to lie it down flat. Open that up very well. Take this portion and simply move it up into that seam and lay this over. Any excess threads you have, you can cut those off, and you have this. Okay, and this is how it looks on the other side. Okay, we haven't pinned anything yet, but we're about to do that now. What you really want to focus on when you put your sheet of fabric into this seam, you want to make sure that your ends are as clean and smooth as possible. Okay, because you don't want people to be able to tell that you've mended your shirt. So you don't want to have a bump or a lump right here and a bump or a lump right here where you start and stop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pin this, and I'm just going to be very careful at the ends to make sure that it's very, very smooth. And also make sure that you don't have too much of this portion into the seam like this. You don't want to put too much in there and then it looks off, and you don't want to put too little because then it's only going to tear off again. Okay, so you want to overlap just the right amount of fabric into that seam, and if it's smooth right here at the end and at the beginning, then you know that you've overlapped the right amount of fabric. So now I am pinning through one layer of the seam, the thin layer of the shirt, and then the back layer of the seam. You want to do this very, very carefully. Okay, and there you have the pinning. And if you can see here, the shirt, the blouse is inside of that seam. Let's look at the back. It's all inside the seam. You see here these threads poking out, so you want to make sure that you cut these off before you start to sew. And then the only other thing you have to do is sew from about here to here, one straight line. Use the same color that's already there, so I'm just going to use white, and I'll show you guys what that looks like.